This is 8chan, a website I'm sure you haven't come across before. It's an anonymous message board where you can write comments, pictures, GIFs, and interact with a community anonymously. On 8chan, this is their politically incorrect thread, and this post here is the first post of the shooter which announced that there was going to be increased gravitas in what he felt. He said it's time to make a real-life effort. Before the police, before any authorities, before any journalists were aware of what was taking place, he announced live on this anonymous thread what he intended to do. Now, 8chan actually pride themselves in the fact that they're a place where there is freedom of speech. They call themselves the darkest reaches of the internet. And that's where some of that ideology can fester and spread and actually actively be encouraged. When the shooter posted this, he also put a link to the Facebook thread where he was going to live stream the attack, but also several links to his 73-page manifesto. As soon as this went live, other members of this community and this thread started kind of egging him on and celebrating what was happening in this really vile way. Now, this manifesto that he posted several links to, we've been taking a look at TheCube, and some of what it has to say is deeply distressing. He called it The Great Replacement. Now, it was based on a book that's been written by a French author, Camus, also called The Great Replacement, and his theory maintains that Europe's white majority is being actively replaced by Northern African, Sub-Saharan African immigrants, many of whom are Muslim. Now, this theory was something that the shooter seriously had taken to heart. He actually visited France to try and investigate for himself, and that's something that throughout his 73-page manifesto, that was full of some other kind of red herrings trying to misguide and create hatred. But when you take all of that to one side and look at the core thread of his manifesto, it was based largely on what this academic had written. Now, this theory isn't just isolated in those, anonymous chat boards we've seen on 8chan. This theory is something that extreme right-wing commentators and politicians have been speaking about. Now, the implications that that has on politics and society in Europe are only just emerging.